All right, beautiful. So welcome everybody. I'm so excited and happy to be here with you today. It is Thursday, December 22nd, 12/22/22. Yesterday was solstice, for some of us for the winter, for some of us for the summer. And we have an amazing Zoom coming up today. It's probably going to be around 75 to possibly up to 90 minutes. Arahia has come correct with slides and she's got a whole presentation for us today. So I'm just like so excited to be in the receiving place and receiving all of her knowledge today. And before we get started with Arahia, I have a couple of quick announcements. The first is that Monday's Zoom on December 26th, we're not going to have a Zoom that day. We're giving everybody a long holiday weekend. I'm giving myself a long holiday weekend. We're just going to take that time and happy birthday to Janan. Yay! We're going to take that time off of Zoom, at least off of a Healy related Zoom, and just drop into whatever's alive for us that day. Second announcement. Yay, Janan, we love you so much. Second announcement is that it is Janan's birthday. 44, and she did her 44 wishes. So we're all on the 44 kick this right now. And Janan, you're just such a beautiful, amazing part of our community, and I love you personally so very much and appreciate you and everything that you bring forward. So happy birthday to Janan. And the next announcement is that today, so while you may not be having a Zoom on December 26th, we do have an invitation for every single person on this Zoom and in this community to begin today an 11-day to Quantum Leap challenge on social media. And we're going to be getting, so the reason I'm announcing this right now is because I want you to all be taking really good notes. If you don't already have a network notebook, like a notebook that you bring to these Zooms, Janelle's got her gold one from the retreat, that you bring here to these Zooms to really take in and translate through your own system and like write down and ink in a place, please do that. Give yourself the gift of not just having the information. We come here twice a week and we lay it down. We give you all of our best support and inspiration and strategy. And having a place where you have this recorded, where you can go back to it and you can go forward to it and you can use it and you can, like, not just in the moment be writing it down, in the future be writing this so that you can give this and work from this notebook. So as you are listening to Arahia speak today, I invite you to really take notes and start to think about how to bring what she's sharing to life in your business, in your social media, in how you are connecting with people through that platform and also individually and personally, because we're going to be talking a lot about magnetic marketing today. And one of the things that I just want to kind of, well, first of all, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you are here because you connected with Healy through social media? Either your first time or your fourth time or your sixth time, just type in the comments, yes, if social media played a part in your arrival here. And some of you, and if not, like, type no, because I'm really curious, because there definitely are people who come here and they don't even have social media and they pop into this world through another avenue. But one of the things that's so powerful about social media that I kind of want to just like give this gentle overview before we dive in is that part of what happens in this space, and as we're sharing with people, is that it's almost like this blossoming, right? It's almost like this internal opening, and this is part of our it's part of our instinct as humans. It's part of our evolutionary process that we have a tendency to wait and watch. We want to wait and watch. We want to see what things are. We want to kind of like sit back a little bit and observe. And what's interesting is that those of us who are most in a leadership, have the most leadership qualities, are often the ones who sit back and wait and watch, and are often the most skeptical ones right at the beginning and say, I don't know. Why? Because it's the leaders who are the ones who are responsible for more than just themselves. So if you guys think back to like back when everyone was nomadic, hunter-gatherers, and moving into different places, the tribal leaders would bring and move the community into a new space. And what would happen? There'd be new foods, new animals, new waterways, new everything, right? And so if you move to a new place and you see beautiful, bright red berries that you've never seen before, and everyone's hungry and tired because they've been moving, are you going to go as the leader and say, oh my gosh, everybody, look at these berries. They look really yummy. Everybody eat them, eat them, eat them, right? No, you're going to say, I'm going to wait. I'm going to observe. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see what other animals are eating this. I might start take a little tiny taste. I might, that you're going to go through a process of blossoming in relationship to the new. And this is very much, so we have inherited this ability or this orientation from our ancestors who survived very difficult conditions and who survived these opportunities to relate with the new. So this same process is present as we are sharing what we're doing. And this is one of the things that hilarious and so true, right? I mean, it's true. Like and you can also think about how many times have you heard a song and the first time you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that song is so bad. That is the worst song I've ever heard in my whole life. Like I hope that I never hear that song again, right? Fashion, right? All these things that like these kind of cutting edge things that come out, often our first response is like, oh, but then once we hear that song a couple more times, we're like, oh, it's this song. Like I've heard this song before. And then we hear it a couple more times and we're like, oh, we know all the words. And like, we hear it a couple more times and then it's on our, best hits of the summer playlist or whatever it is, right? So we form relationship as we continue to receive information over and over. This is one of the reasons why the very first invitation, when somebody purchases their Healy and wants to create an income with it and has a desire to bring it out there into the world and to receive reciprocative income, that one of the very first invitations is to start sharing on social media. When it first comes, like even before it arrives, like as soon as you make that purchase, to start sharing your journey on social media. Because this is what starts to bring this relationship. It's what starts to allow people to begin to blossom in this relationship with the newness of what they're experiencing through you. So that's kind of the like bigger picture overview of why social media is so important and so powerful, and why so many of you came here because of social media, is because it allows us to continue to share over time what's changing for us, what's shifting for us. Even if we're just showing up, people notice that we are evolving in this space. Even if we don't really say that much, people see it. They watch us change. They experience that. They receive these downloads. It's 11:11. And so it usually takes around 7 to 10 times for someone to watch and see the animals eating those red berries, right? For someone to see this new information before they're often like aware that it exists. Like sometimes it'll just until that moment when it's like, oh, that thing that Adahia was talking about, like, I need to talk to her, right? Like, I need to like reach out to her. So social media is one of the most powerful ways to show up and to become magnetic. And so we are starting today going to be doing 11 days together as a community, like enseguida, I'm speaking in Spanish, 11 days, 11 of like sequential days of posting in our stories and or reels. So we're either going to be in our stories talking to the camera, or we're going to be posting reels, some kind of video content, not just like it's on sale, but like us actually there, bringing our essence, bringing our voice, bringing our movement, bringing our relationship to the camera and to our community. So those of you who do this for 11 days straight, and I think we're going to end on January 2nd. Someone can check that for me. You will receive, so we'll put the instructions of how you can submit your highlight that you're going to make. You're going to submit your highlight, and then you will receive a free program, a Quantum Leap program from Derek, who came on our Zoom last week on Thursday. And if you already have that program, you can choose a different one. So that's the kind of the setup for the Zoom here. I'm going to pass it to the beautiful divine Adahia to bring us into the space in the realm of human design specifically. So Adahia is a kinesiologist. She's Australian. She's such a badass. When I first got started with Healy, she and I and Sarah Joy were kind of like really interconnected and working together a lot and leading all the Zooms together. And then because of time zone tragedies, we are no longer like on every Zoom together, but Adahia has brought such deep inspiration to me. She works professionally with a woman named Phoebe Cates, who does Phoebe, who does, she'll tell you, who does incredible human design training, and she's just an absolute master. So Adahia, thank you so much for being here with us. It is such a joy to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, just reflecting that back to you. It's really nice to just be in your space again. And thanks everyone. Thank you everyone for jumping on and coming to learn about human design. It's midnight here in Perth, Australia. That is how much I love human design. You're in TCE. Amazing. Okay, amazing. Just so you know, I'm going to share my screen, Sarah, so I don't think I'll be able to see new people coming in, and there's people in the waiting room.
Yeah.
So I am going to share my screen and I'm going to get cracking. I hope you all have notebooks. So there is going to be quite a lot of content in this. And while not every single bit is going to necessarily be relevant to you, because there's kind of like different parts of human design. Actually, can I just get a quick, who's actually been introduced to human design? Like, who knows what human design is on the call already? Okay, lots of hands. Okay, very new. Yes, just learning. Yes, a little bit. Yes, me, Manjan, projector. Yes, yep. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. You're reading the book. Which book? Great, the basics. Okay. So a lot of people, I feel like there's a lot of people who know. And a few people just being introduced. All right, perfect. So something that I find really fascinating about human design, and I think definitely why I find it such an incredible tool and such a great pairing with our intuition, with business. I mean, I'm going to say specifically with this business, but it is with actually every business. With our intuition, with business, and with Healy, is that it really helps us understand not only ourselves and like the circuitry that we've been living with our whole entire life, that I find like human design really gives us these like massive aha moments, where things that we thought were maybe like weird or wrong, or just kind of felt like an energy sort of sticking with us. When you see that reflected in human design and you realize that it's just you and it's like that's your design, it's like it kind of creates this permission and this understanding, and it does the same in business, and it does the same in messaging and marketing. And it also does the same in relationships. So when you like in your team, like when you're creating like your team pods and stuff, you'll kind of start to notice people's gifts when you understand like these different sort of like genres and types of energy types. And I find it really helpful to, I don't know, kind of bring people together in more of a team. So that really applies to network marketers as well. So a disclaimer before I begin. I am not a network. I'm not a human design expert. I know a lot about human design. I worked with Richard Rudd, who was the man who created the Gene Keys. Like personally, I don't think he works with many people personally, but I did an interview with him. We spoke about the frequency of genetics. And he invited me to come work with him, and it was amazing. And I really sunk into the Gene Keys. So the Gene Keys and human design are both really based around the I Ching. So the I Ching is a program that's in your Healy that you can use in the resonance part of your Healy. And it's just an ancient kind of oracle system that is holographically represented in every single part of the universe. So yeah, I worked with him. I've also worked with a lady called Phoebe Kuhn. I've worked with her for a while, like 4 or 5 years now. And this year specifically, I've done like over 200 like psychic, human design, Gene Key marketing readings on like different people's profiles based on like what they want to get out of their business. And so I know a lot, like I know a lot in terms of like my experience, but I'm not I know there's people out there who are like, you know, human design, like absolute experts, and people study it for like a university degree, like 12 years, and there's still stuff to know. I'm not like that level. I just know what I know. And I also like my gifts, I'm very intuitive with it, and I like to flow with it. And just to say another disclaimer more for you is that like human design is really your experiment. And like when you start implementing into your business and when you start implementing it into your experience, my sort of like invitation is to play with it and be really open with it. And yeah, like don't take it too seriously. Like it's a tool to really help you, but really trust yourself first, like trust your intuition first. And really play with it. So what is human design and where did it come from? So human design is really a map of yourself. I say it's you know, I'm really into genius and our gifts. And I think that's something that we can really transmit via social media, and also transmit when we're talking about Healy or business with anyone. It's really a transmission of our energy. It's a really positioning that we have. And human design is a map of the self that helps us to like really, I feel, own our positioning. And it shows us where we have consistent energy. So consistent energy is basically our genius. It's like where we will always have energy. It's not like, you know how sometimes you can be like, oh my gosh, I'm a genius in this area. And then, or like you have this idea and then it'll just like the energy out of it will just go. So when you understand human design and when you're writing when you're using social media, you'll understand why when we get into this. So human design is a manual or a guide that allows people to explore their own inner landscape, identify their patterns, their strengths, their weaknesses, just really an exploration of yourself. It's a synthesis of ancient observational systems, like astrology's in there, I Ching's in there, the chakras are in there, the Kabbalah's in there, contemporary science of quantum mechanics is in there, astronomy, genetics, biochemistry. It is based specifically on your birth time and where you were born, like in the world. So it's very, very specific and unique. Like when people send me their charts, I literally thank them. I'm like, thank you for sending me the blueprint of your soul. Like you can tell so much about people from reading their human design chart. And also how it translates into business and how like it translates into your messaging. And so how we're going to dive into it today is really like each human design type is called an aura, and each aura has a way that it attracts energy and a way that it solicits energy. And so if we really learn how to communicate in alignment with that aura and with the parts of our chart that are consistent, then what we're actually learning to do is be in alignment with that energy, and that's what makes it magnetic. So we're learning, like, when you kind of like understand the different elements of your chart, and there's like so much to know, and we'll just go into like kind of like the basics, but stuff that will really help you to be magnetic. It's like, you know how to solicit energy. I have taught people how to, just the things that I'm going to share with you today. I've taught like over like a lot. I don't even know, like a lot of people for Phoebe Coon, like her ambassadors, how to use this to market. And yeah, people who were kind of like not really getting like massive engagement on social media, when they implemented just a couple of these things, it was like their whole attraction just like switched on in social media. And because they were in their tone, like they were in their energy, and they were communicating in a way that brought energy to them that was like correct for their type. So human design is like really where and how to use our energy. I touched on the gene keys, and the gene keys is more the frequency at which we express and experience. And it's all tools of understanding and contemplation. And yeah, the advantage of learning this is so that you can create magnetism, because it's really your true expression. And I know that's, that's something that we all, that's such a solution that Healy offers us, is for us to like be in that true expression. So this is like another way, another tool for that. And it creates ease. Like when we're in our design, things just happen a lot easier with a lot more flow, and our messaging is more powerful, and we avoid burnout. And it's like we create less boredom. If you've ever like, what am I going to write today in social media? Like, I've just got no idea. And there's all these like, la, la, la. This is going to really help you. And knowing your human design really helps you with inspiration. So I'm just going to quickly touch on what messaging is, because this is what this actually applies to. So I feel like messaging is like one of the most primary business skills, whether you work online or not, even though I know most of us do. Even if you don't work online, messaging in person would be like the conversation that you're having, but online, it's really like who you're speaking to and the way that you like craft what you're sharing and how you're sharing it, so that you can create conversations that easily help you to kind of do less work. So when you're actually in DMs with people, and when you're actually in conversations with people, it's like you're doing less work. Your messaging is like the bridge. So instead of like having conversations with people and they're just like, well, that's really not me, or, like, tell me more. It's like, if you can learn how to craft your messaging in a way that creates curiosity and gives information and is like really kind of targeted and honed, you are making less work for yourself in the back end. So I know this is human design for network marketers. I have been working with Phoebe Coon, and she doesn't do human design for network marketers. She does coaches and healers and facilitators. And like, we need to do like a human design for network marketers, because it's so like, we're not coaches, we're not healers, we're not facilitators, even though some of us are, and it really can amplify that part of our life. But it also, we have like, it's a beautiful space where we don't have to be specialized. It can either amplify our specialization or not. And there's some really specific pillars about network marketing that are different to I find like a lot of messaging courses out there. And that became like really, really apparent as I was like working deeper with Phoebe. And like the unique positioning for network marketing is that it's really the lifestyle. Like, we have this product, we have this business that is a lifestyle. Like, it's this solution that we can offer anyone. And so if people, like I said, if people are specialized, it can really amplify their specialization. And if they aren't specialized, there is still this whole community. There's still like unique positioning that anyone can step into. And that's what actually makes network marketing really unique. I mean, one of the things, but in terms of messaging, that's one of the things that makes marketing, network marketing really unique. So this is really interesting. And this is what really, before we get like into the deep nitty gritty of it, something that I really wanted to share with you about these readings that I did this year. In the last 2 months, actually, I did so many, like my sacral was like, stop. But I couldn't, I'd committed to doing them, and I'm like, okay, I'm all about completion. So I did them, I followed through, and I'm so glad I did, because what I found out, and something that really, really landed for me, that I think, I would love you guys to just like really take in and contemplate, and because it applies to all of us, is I did these 200 assessments. They were all women. There was like a whole range of financial results, like from like huge financial results to zero financial results to everywhere in between. And of these 200 women, 90% of these women had like a 2 or 3 or 4 level of satisfaction in their business. And that blew my mind. And when I started looking at their human design and their circuitry specifically, because during this last round that we did, what we were looking at was burnout. We were asking people like, do you feel like you're going to burn out? And what's your satisfaction with your business? And people were really honest about it. And when I looked at their human design, their charts, in a way that I'd never looked at, I've never been looking for burnout before. I was just like reading charts. And when I looked at burnout, what I noticed was that no, a genius isn't designed to work in isolation. And so when these people that were like running their businesses, that like the business was really related to their genius, but they were doing all the things in their business, like doing the Canva and running the launches and doing the things, and like so many different things that they were kind of like managing or trying to get their business like really off the ground. And it was taking away from where they had consistent energy in their circuitry. And it was taking away from their genius. And it just like dawned on me so massively, like, and I've always known this, but just seeing it like one after the other, after the other, after the other, is that I truly believe that working in business community, like that is what our circuitry is actually designed for. That is how our genius gets to rise to the surface. And so that is the conversation that I'm having in my marketing. That's the conversation that I'm having in my DMs. That's the conversation that I'm having with people. And I have had this conversation with so many people in the last month. There is not a single person who hasn't said to me, yeah, I'll take a look at what you're talking about, because I really understood this concept like through human design, that so many people are like the lone wolfness of like being in that space alone is a lot to bear. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that, that's something that you can actually track in human design. And when it was like evidenced to me like that, just what we do here in the community that we share, and the way that our genius gets to rise to the surface without us having to like bear the load of everything, I think it's a massive part of what we do. That really speaks to what's happening in the field right now. So in human design, there are 5 different types of auras. And when we're talking about becoming magnetic online, what they are is they're actually archetypes of energy. And so you'll see this when you get your human design chart. You'll see like it'll tell you what your type is. So when you translate that to marketing, you have a tone. So a tone, I'm going to go through this for each one. A tone is kind of like the way that you speak. And I'll give you examples of all of these. You have an authority, which is like what is like the part of your system that decides like what's really true for you, even though there can be other voices in there. And you have a strategy. And a strategy is a way to make decisions. but in marketing, it translates into a way that you communicate. And I just want to preface this again and say that like because we're all so unique, there isn't like a generator is always this, or a projector is always this. Like our chart is a whole thing. So yeah, there's like so many elements of our chart that you can kind of like look at and play with. I just need to small this thing. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, that we can look at and play with. So yeah, the strategy, we have this way of speaking, we have this way of communicating that's a match to our blueprint. And when we do this, that is when we become magnetic, because we're in alignment with our consistent energy and our natural gifts. So generators and manifesting generators have the same archetype, and that is because they both have a sacral, a defined sacral center. So I'm going to explain about all the centers. If you can see like this chart here, these are all the centers. I'm actually going to go through them after I go through the types, and so you can learn how to write content depending on which of these centers are like defined or not defined, which is like where you have consistent energy. So generators and manifesting generators, our tone and our archetype is the talk radio show host or the sports commentator. Probably someone best to think of as a generator is Oprah Winfrey. You know how like she really has made a like amazing legacy from like really owning this tone and this archetype. And so when you think of like a commentator, they are taking in the whole scene, they're looking at what's going on. They can get really like opinionated about the player who's doing this or the player who's doing that, and they really observe what's happening. So they are actually responding to the game that's happening. A generator and a man gen, they respond to energy that is already existing. They respond to the game that is already there. So they observe the behaviors, they observe the attitudes and the actions of the world, and they contribute to the conversation. They're contributing to it. And through this contribution, they develop a unique tone or voice and a unique persona. Through observation and response of the collective, they become influential and respected in their opinions, and they can cause this influence to take their advantage. They observe and respond to alarming or destructive patterns or behaviors. Commentators really bring the game together. They really there's a real influence there that a commentator has on like those who are also watching, how they receive that information. They can make criticism of where humanity is being ridiculous and needs to be checked, and they can also be humorous in their observation. And their genius is really like thinking like on the spot, like just observing and responding in the moment. So generators and man-gens have defined sacral, so they have life force energy. Something about the sacral that is really important to know is that when you turn it on, like when you respond to something in your social media, if there is something that you are excited about, if there is something that you are like a big yes about, if you are something that you're a big no about, when you switch your sacral on, when you like, this is like, your gut, your life force energy. When you switch it on, all manner of resources will come to your aid. Generators and man-gens are the alchemists and the builders. And their tone is like fiery, it's passionate, it's opinionated, it's funny, it's sassy, and it's bold. And content prompts for generators and man-gens is, what do you see that you have a strong yes or no to? So a really great way that I really learned how to write as a generator, because I'm a generator, is like if I had an opinion about something, I would literally write the opinion at the top of the page, like frequency medicine will change the world, or like if you're not working in community, you're doing it wrong, or something, like a bold statement. That's really an opinion. And that would be my headline. And then I would respond to that. And that is like a really beautiful way for a generator to like get into their sacral, which is their authority, which is like what is going to make their content like truly magnetic. Before I knew this, I used to write content as a projector. And I used to write these amazing posts and there was just like crickets. And social media has kind of like moved a bit since then. But if that happens to you, like where you feel like you've written an amazing post, but you're just like, why did I not get engagement on that? Sometimes it's because of your tone. Like this one thing of like understanding your specific tone, it's a switch. And you know when you get it because it's an instant response, like it genuinely creates magnetism because it's energetics. So when you like are working in the energetics of your tone, it's like boom, on. So the secret weapon and the thing to remember as a generator, imagine, is that everything comes to you, and to trust the gap. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I want to do it now. I want to go now. But really trust that there's a response to something. And if you're feeling like a bit of an antsiness, or it's not like the energy isn't like there, trust that it's not the right timing, and it won't, it's less likely to be magnetic if you're like trying to force it out. So the biggest responsibility of a generator is to stay true to their response, no matter who thinks what. And that is really powerful before you share any piece of content. Like, doesn't matter what people are going to think, doesn't matter how people are going to receive your art. It's like, it's going to be the most powerful, the most magnetic, and you will find your people. This is something that I love about human design, is that it helps you find your people. We are all here to serve. We all have a soul group of people. We all have a soul fractal. We all have a soul family, and we all have a role to play in that. And so the more we're like actually in the experiment about designing in our energy, and when you're feeling good, and when you're feeling like, and not everyone who's like amazing at social media knows this, but if you look at how they're doing it, they're actually in alignment with their design. And so I forgot what I was going to finish that sentence with. I'm going to move on. Manifestors. Okay, so manifestors are a much smaller percentage of the population. This is like the archetype of Shade Weber. This is a revolutionary. These are leaders, and these are people who initiate energy. Like your tone is basically, I do what I want. And this can be really challenging for manifestors because as children, I know maybe it's changed a little now, but we're not really you're not really brought up as a manifestor. Like if it was a manifestor child in a family of generators, that manifestor would actually have the power, would genuinely have the power in that power role in that family, even though they were younger, like energetically. They have closed auras, and you can feel them when they walk into a space because you automatically almost like want to give the decision making to them. Like they just have this aura about them. This can be one of the greatest woundings of manifestors because they really have to you have to stand in the abrasiveness of I'm just doing this anyway, because a manifestor is a revolutionary. They can see I'm going this way. It's a revolution, charge forth, let's go. So there's this kind of requirement to stand in the fire as a manifestor and to really initiate and speak like that and speak like a leader and step into that role of leadership, because that's the correct tone for a manifestor. A manifestor is this is where we're going. This is where we're doing it. I encourage manifestors to break the rules. A manifestor is you can choose to come with us, or you could choose to stay where you are. A manifestor informs. So their strategy is to inform. So your content is really about informing about what you're doing and why you're doing it. This is how we're getting there. They lead the way, they explain why they're going where they're going, and they create for the future. So, and they initiate new pathways for the world, and they get the ball rolling. So they're yes, they are the ones that are getting the things going. They also have they need a rest cycle. They don't have consistent energy like a generator. And they work well with generators, people with sacral beings, because there is a requirement for them to follow through. And this is what I was talking about with the circuitry. There's a requirement for that follow through. for sacral energy, which only comes through generators and man-gens. So if you are a manifester, it means that you have a defined throat. And if you think like a throat is really that manifestation, it's like I speak it, you speak it forth, you bring it, that expression to life. But that defined throat is connected to a motor center. So manifestors are natural decision makers. They have the closed aura, no permission needed. I'm doing what I want because this, because it's in alignment with me and this is where I'm going. And like and just holding that line. The rules are, there are no rules. Trust your own authority. As I speak, so I create. And to harness your natural magnetism, you must initiate your ideas with power and speed. This is really important for a manifestor. Like sitting on your ideas can really sap and drain your energy, because you're designed to like get it out there and keep things moving. And it's a very, very dynamic energy. And people actually want to and will, when you're in your correct tone, which is like informing and leading, people will naturally follow you. So yeah, like that tone in your social media is going to be really powerful and magnetic for you. Unapologetic, raw power, fearless, courageous, certain, and bold. Tip for manifestors when you're writing content: don't ask your audience questions. Manifestors don't ask questions. Like, what do you want to learn from me? Like you're really like, this is where we're going. I'm the initiator. So when you're asking questions of your audience, it diminishes your power and dulls your natural magnetism. So you can still ask questions, but it's more like you're asking questions from an assertive point of view. So post that commands, and your secret weapon is knowing the visionary trends and cutting edge ideas, as well as honoring your rest cycles. So the biggest responsibility of a manifestor is to realize their impact on others. Projectors. I know there's heaps of projectors in this community. Projectors are, so their energy is so where the generator's energy is like warm and embracing and everyone wants to come in, the manifestor's energy is quite closed. The projector's energy is like it raises up and goes out like a lighthouse. So the projector is the archetype is like the Yoda, the sage, and the wise guide, the light hoist. That's a good spelling error. The lighthouse. So the projectors are really the guide, and what they say is, I have walked where you have walked. I see the pain that you're going through. I know the struggle. I see you. I believe in you. This is the path to walk to find the treasure you seek. And when like an epic projector, and I'm sure there's many in our community, but Jess Hesser like really nails the projector tone in her social media. Her guidance through sharing her experience and the way that she makes it about others, but also turns her light on at the same time, is like, that's a real, like that's like a archetype. That's like 101 projector aura expression, and it like that really shows with the success that she has, and like the movement that she has on her page and stuff like that, because she really embodies this. So projectors illuminate the path. They provide insights into the psyche. They provide direction for growth and transformation for the individual. They guide and direct existing energy by seeing patterns for opportunities for improvement. There's this interesting paradox with projectors in like, there's this requirement to like turn their light on and really rise up into their greatness. And just like, the other thing about projectors is that people come to you as well. When you demonstrate your guiding, they will, the strategy for a projector is to wait for the invitation. And so there's like, people will be magnetized to a projector who is like living in their design and who is sharing on social media in their design. So projectors also have an undefined sacral, and their throat isn't connected to a motor. So that's called a low energy type as well. Projectors and generators work really well together as well. As you notice, like, Sarah Joy and Sarah Bliss work very well together. Sarah Joy is a projector, Sarah Bliss is a man-gen. And yes, Sarah kind of like, I really see Sarah sort of like guides Sarah Joy. Sarah Joy kind of like guides and sees the information, and, you know, can share, and then Sarah Bliss can kind of like respond to that. And that's how it works in teams, in network marketing, when you're creating teams as well. The projectors are like wise, strategic, relatable, understanding. This is like so key. There's like, you can still be sassy, but there's like, if this understanding isn't happening for a projector, their tone can come off really cold and it doesn't quite nail it. And there's an interesting way to like demonstrate that you have gone through this certain experience, as well as like understanding where others are coming from. And as I said, like definitely check Jess's socials for the, like, she really nails this. So strategy is to wait for the invitation. Demonstration, embodiment is the game. You will be irresistibly magnetic when you stop trying to get an invitation, but instead start sharing about what you're experiencing. So a lot of projector wounding can come from like feeling not invited. And when you feel like not invited and you're coming from that space, you don't get an invite. But when you just like it's not about getting an invite, it's just about sharing my truth and really standing in that. And that feels good to a projector, then that is when you will have all of the, like, so many invitations that you'll be able to say yes and no to whatever you desire.
Pause you for
yeah.
1 second. So
Yeah.
I just want to ask a question in relationship to projectors, which is the question that I hear most projectors ask, which is around that waiting for the invitation, and how, if you can just bring in just a tiny bit of guidance around like how to go through the process of actually prospecting, quote unquote, as a projector when you're waiting for the invitation, but you're like also, you know, just enlighten us a little bit on that, because I've heard that question hundreds of times.
Yes. Yeah. I totally I've heard this question too. So there's it depends how you're doing it, but if you're sharing on social media, a really powerful way for you to share on social media, there's a couple of ways. One is to continue to like really share your journey and your experience from the viewpoint of what you're experiencing, but also how it relates to other people. So that tone will really hit an invitation for a projector, because it's in alignment with their energy, as opposed to like writing a post that is more like a manifestor tone of like, or even a generator tone of like, I'm doing this thing and here's the information. It's more like you want to give your insights. Like, it's really important to give your insights and your guidance and your experience. As a projector, it's really great to share testimonials and evidence. That also incites invitation, like people will come to you. Are you specifically talking about like sending messages to people?
Yeah, like actually
DMs?
Yep, DMs.
Yeah. So let me just give me 1 sec.
Here we get to witness a beautiful generator listening to her sacral.
Totally. I'm just thinking like all the projectors that I'm just scanning through the projectors that I know, and like I just want to give specific examples, not like what I think it is. So just give me 1 second. Yes. Okay. So what the projectors that I know that do this really, really well, I mean like really well, have conversations with people, like literally just conversations. So they're asking questions in their stories or like they're telling stories in their stories, that have like questions that like share what you think. Have you experienced this kind of at the end? And so they're having engaging conversations with people that actually invite people into their DMs, and then they're opening that conversation. So once someone actually responds to you, once someone comments to you, that is, that's very much like an invitation. So there's kind of like there's this edge with projectors where they feel like it can almost be like, but it has to be like an obvious invitation. It's not necessarily that. Like if you're doing a story and you're talking about, let's say, leveraged income, something like that, that's specific to this, or like your budget, like you're shrinking your needs to meet your budget, and like sharing a story and saying like, has this happened to you? Tell me about your story. And then someone's like engaging with that content. That's an invitation. That's an invitation to start the conversation and to open the solution in that, when that comes to DMs. The projectors that I know that do this really well just speak to a lot of people, like, and they have conversations and they instigate conversations around like these business topics. And once the conversation is actually open, then that's the invitation. Like there's like an open invitation. If that conversation just suddenly shuts, which it can do, then that's okay. That's totally okay. But it like you can go back into that thread as well. Like you'll be able to tell if the invite is closed. That's not a projector thing. That's just like, that just happens in DMs. But definitely projectors that I see that have massive businesses, massive network marketing businesses who use their DMs are creating conversations, and creating conversations everywhere. Like social media is definitely amazing, but there are so many different areas of life, like gyms and cafes, and like there's so many different places where we can be having conversations. And these days, like I think social media is having this shift where it's sort of like, I see it as almost like the new website, like not that like people come and look on your website and be like, oh, this is what that person's about, their social media. And then they will instigate a conversation with a projector if the projector is like talking about stuff on their social media. That's really interesting and exciting. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that does. Thank you very much. Because we do have so many projectors, and that is what I understand to be true as well. Is like, if someone is like part of your audience, you have the invitation to write content for them.
Yes, definitely.
Or they start to engage with you. And I think this is really like a strategy that I teach a lot with social media in general, which is never just like enter in to someone's DMs. Like never just, no matter what you are, like don't ever just like send someone a DM. It's always so much more conversational to, at least from what I experience, to respond to a story that they've made, or even repost some of their content, but to like kind of give to them before you then just reach in there, that it can be kind of abrupt to like just enter into the DMs for the first time. So that, really start, like you said, like having these conversations. It's a great strategy for everyone with social media, but especially projectors, it sounds like. So thank you very much.
Yes, 100%. Yes, so your natural magnetism comes from your innate ability to understand people and systems, and your ability to like be on people's levels, even though you can see far ahead. And then it's this beautiful energy that happens of like this equilibrium with a projector, but like sharing their insights of like far ahead. It's like people just, oh my gosh, like it's so irresistible. Like it's literally irresistible to be with people when you like meet them where they are and then share your far aheadness, like that like insight. So posts that give the power to the people. For projectors, like repurposing content, like, if you've done a reel that you love, or sharing other people's content is another great online strategy for projectors specifically. And your secret weapon is sharing what you have learned in your journey so far. Projector, the biggest responsibility of projector is to ensure that they don't manipulate others for success. So actually, just so you know, like projector, like the sustain, like projectors are the only ones they say that actually have like what is defined as success. You know, for generators, it's satisfaction, and there's but for I've lost my train of thought. For projectors, it's success. The last aura type is reflectors. These are people who are completely open, like all open centers. These people are the blind spot checkers. They're the audience. They're the mirror in Snow White is the archetype. They are also said to be the future humans. So that's like where humanity is heading, like all of these like openness. They see and feel everything that occurs in the game of life. They pick things up that others missed. They really rely on their environment, like they are like quite affected by their environment. So who they hang around, community, like community is a massive subject for reflectors, especially in social media, one that's really true and authentic. Yes, so reflector is wise and all-knowing. Where others may be in denial, the reflectors will always know the truth of how the other and how the collective is really feeling. They are the driving instructor on the road. They are the co-pilot in the sky. They navigate the waters where others have blind spots. They are the blind spotter. They are the crystal ball, and they have all the answers in their highest wisdom. They see, gauge, and evaluate. So reflectors are completely open. Their tone is unbiased. It's objective, it's fair, it's just, it's soft, it's even-tempered, it's wise, it's psychic, and it's intuitive. The strategy for a reflector is to wait for a lunar cycle. I don't think it's necessarily that strict, like a whole lunar cycle. I think once you really understand like things like planetary movements and how the environment affects you and stuff like that, there is a requirement to sort of wait. But also I don't necessarily think it's always a lunar cycle. Your magnetism is dependent on your environment, as this is what you will reflect. My cousin is an artist, so like reflectors are very, very like deeply arty, because arty is like an expression. So they like gather all of the information and they just like express it out in these like powerful, and they're really like, there's this urge for them to like really express that. And you have access to all the information of the cosmos and like a hint for reflectors is to spend time learning about daily transits, so that you can kind of like understand your energy shifts. And you may even like that may even come into your content, like really understanding like how energy flows like on a big scale, because that will affect your content. Content prompt for reflector is: what am I feeling in my being? What event is happening in the external world that represents this? What do I know about this that others don't? That's great things to share on social media. And the biggest responsibility of a reflector is to live their life fully, but not take it too personal, moment to moment. Okay, so those are the types. That's like the tone, that's like the expression, that's the magnetism. And I'm just going to go through the centers, and this will the intention of this is to really give you a little bit of shape to your content, so that you can shape to your content basically. So as I've said before, definition, if you have a look at your chart, definition is where you have color. Where it's white is where you're open, and definition is where you have consistent energy. So that means that energy is always flowing through that center, and you always have access to that center. You will, like, depending on who you're around or what you're being influenced by, you will have like inconsistent energy, and that's what's kind of that's what they call conditioning. And where you kind of feel pressure where you feel pressure, like that feeling of just frustration or like bitterness or, like pressure, that's your not self, and that's often where you don't have definition. So I'm just going to go through this in terms of content. So this center up here, if that is colored in your chart, this is your head or your crown. If it's defined, I think like 30% of the population have a defined head center, a defined crown. And so these are the people who like have the ideas, they have the inspiration. If you don't have a defined head or a defined crown, it's really important to ask when stuff comes in, like, is this mine? So when you start writing stuff where you get like this idea and you want to like gallop and follow it everywhere, like it's really important to ask, is this mine? So if you do have a defined head, your content is going to be really like, is going to be really magnetic and consistent, and in your genius, and feel good to you when you're inspiring others and debunking confusion. So, you know how, like, have you ever been around people and like, there's just like, maybe you're one of them, you're just like asking kind of like endless questions, and trying to find the answer to things, like that's an open head. So people are magnetized to defined crowns. So, because they offer a specific answer. So like great kind of like tone for a defined head of posting is like, I have the answer to this thing. I have the answer. And that is going to be like very, very magnetic because people are attracted to what they don't have, which kind of makes sense, right? So if you do have this defined, this kind of tone is going to be really magnetic. I have the answer for like, creating coherence. I have the answer for creating nonlinear income. Like, yeah, that kind of tone for the crown is great. Or like ideas and ideas as well. Okay, this presentation that I'm doing is like very, very Ajna-ish. Like what I'm doing is I'm like sharing concepts with you. I'm like, my Ajna is like very, very defined. And it's really good at debunking confusion, problem solving, innovating and researching, and helping people to like understand and give like insights into things where people are like, oh my gosh, I get it. But it's not for making decisions. So know that that's its role. And great content for you, those of you who have a defined Ajna, is to offer insights and provide clarity and understanding on like why we're doing this, what is this thing. So like really explaining the concept of network marketing, explaining the concept of frequency, explain like my reels that tend to have like the most reach are ones where I am explaining what Healy does in like detail. And that's my defined Ajna, and they're magnetic because they're good content, but also they're in alignment with my design. So yeah, if you have a defined Ajna, like really getting in there and explaining concepts in your reels around finance, around the like exiting the matrix, around like I said, frequency, around coherence, around energy, around business, like just concepts, like really explaining them so people understand them and go like, wow, yeah, that's great. Like I think I need that, or I really get that, or this person is really, that's been really valuable. Defined throat, that is this octagon shape here beneath those two triangles. Defined throat is, now people say like a non-defined throat is like, a non-defined throat has to like speak things out to like to kind of be heard, like out so they can hear their voice. But they like, the wounding of a defined throat is that you can feel not heard. But it's not the case that you can't speak if you don't have a defined throat. Like you can still, I think it's really important to share your voice on social media. Our voice has a certain tone that our audience like really wants to hear and receive, that is like really unique and special to us. It's just that you don't have consistent energy. And if you were constantly using your voice and you had an undefined throat, it would create burnout, like because the energy isn't consistently there. However, if you do have a defined throat, voicing reason, speaking the truth. This is massive. Like speaking the truth is like a huge tone that you can take. You know how there's like some people who like, it's just like, that's their brand. That's what they speak about. That's how they do it. Those people, if it works for them, they are most likely defined throat. And it's also about taking action, taking divine, like an expression. People are magnetized to you because you can offer and give a voice to their thoughts and demonstrate actions. A great way of sharing, if you do have a defined throat, is screen recordings of you speaking and voiceovers. This here is the G center. It's the identity. It's Mine is wide open. And it gives direction. It's really like purpose as well. So it's about self-love and self-care. It's about guiding others. It's about empowering others. It's about trusting the unknown. This is also the center of the law of attraction. So if this is defined, you can be like really magnetic, speaking about purpose, speaking about self-love, speaking about care. And you always have this sense of like feeling loved and knowing where you're going. If it is open, you are constantly looking for love and direction. So you'll be drawn to people who have a defined identity. However, if it is open, you also have an ability to like really tune in, like be attuned to people's purpose and also relationships. But if it's defined, people are magnetized to you because you can offer direction and identity. So like really empowering posts about like this way, follow me, like really directional, empowering identity posts. If you have a defined G, you'll also like ranking and like who you are in the world, like really sharing who you are, your identity, as even just like sort of not sideline content, but just, like your role in your family, your role in your community, your role, like that's really great content for a defined G, because it's identity. If it's undefined, you're like more chameleon-ish and you kind of go through many lifetimes in your life. This little guy here is called the will or the ego center. If you have this in a team setting, part of your role is to bring things to completion and don't be scared to make people accountable, because that's what people will actually be magnetized for you for. This is like willpower and drive. It's about managing resources, motivating others, competition and visibility and progress. What's really great for a defined ego in your content is like, it's really great for you to be like, this is amazing. Like there's definition. Like I was saying to Sarah Bliss, I don't mind putting my name on things because my defined ego loves it. Like, and it's so true. Like, it's correct and good for a defined ego. Like I say, if something's really good and I know it's really good and I've done it, I will like fully be like, this is awesome. Like you have to check this out. If it's not good, I don't say that, but that kind of tone is really like kind of directional. You have to check this out. It's the best ever. That's a great tone for content with the defined will. So making true statements about how good something is, if you have this defined will in your content, is that's going to be a good match for your energy, and people will really respond to it if your ego is defined. And people are magnetized to you because you can offer accountability. So that's definitely something you can talk about in our community in your content. Completion, follow through, and that's not meant to be there. That's from the other page. I did this on my phone, so I've just noticed a few like tiny little typos as I've been going through. This bit here is this little center here is your sacral. This is about creativity and embodiment. We spoke about this with generators, but basically if this is defined, it means that you're here to provide energy, cultivating patience, creativity, and responding. People are magnetized to people with defined sacrals because they have an open aura that can literally draw all manner of resources to it. Defined sacral is like energy, fire, plus, plus, plus. Defined solar plexus. So this is this here. So there are about 50% of people have it defined, 50% of people not. This is about emotions and emotional intelligence, as well as co-regulating. I realized that I need a defined solar plexus in my team to help me run calls. Have you noticed how Sarah Bliss holds these calls and she co-regulates the whole entire field? This is her defined solar plexus. That is the circuitry that is actually creating that in the field, in the team, the co-regulation. And so when you translate that into content, it's really about making people feel something, like really crafting something that enables you, like that makes them feel. So you can be really raw, you can be really open, you can be vulnerable. And the tip is to write content that emotes you. like that really like people are craving that in the world. And so when you have a defined solar plexus and you deliver that, it is, once again, like it's irresistible to people. Like people really love it and they see you and it creates that connection. This is the spleen on the other side. This is about survival, instinct, and intuition. So talking about intuition, talking about anything that's to do with survival. So, you know, health is survival, you know, fitness, like health, you know, like real health stuff, money and finances. You know, there's a slight difference between wealth and money. Like money is survival. So like it's that these are kind of like matching energies for this. So the defined spleen is like a survival instinct and intuition, intuitive action, well-being, and providing stability. And people are magnetized to you, to your innate knowing and sharing your intuition and actually creating safety. So in a team, if you have this, like you can really create safety when people land into your team. You can really create safety around like learning, like, you know how Sarah Bliss was talking about the berries and the leaders and like, is it safe? Defined spleens can really create a level of safety around newness for people, because that's a survival instinct. And the very last little guy, this is the root right down here at the bottom. This is a pressure center. So, and this is, if it's undefined, you will really feel pressure. Much like if you have an undefined head. So these two are the pressure centers. If you have an undefined root, a really great question for you to ask when you're writing content is, are you trying to hurry to get this done so you don't feel pressure? You will probably feel that a lot when you have an open root. So if you are doing that, take a breath, pause, step back, realize that it's your open root trying to hurry so you don't feel pressure, and then move forward. So a defined root is about pressure and initiative. This is really often called the business center as well. So people with super defined roots can kind of handle like a lot of pressure in business. It's about transcending and regulating stress, handling pressure, and grounding. People are magnetized to your ability to slow things down and handle pressure, create community, and talking about business, like talking about the structures of business, talking about like how we're going to do this, like the real mechanics of business, is a good match to a defined root. Other things that you can talk about, find out in your HD, which I'm not going to go in today because I haven't looked at the time, but I'm sure we're like way over. Please ask me questions. This is my Instagram. I'm more than happy to answer. Like if it gets overwhelming, I'll just let you know and maybe create a little tool. But yeah, if you have questions, feel free to ask. But other things that you can learn about in your human design is like your profile lines, who to market to, whether it's like a good tone for you to market to strangers or more like community. You can really find like where trauma and pressure is in your circuitry so that you can decondition. You can see like how you're going to burn out. You can really hone into the specific tone of your marketing. And you do that through looking at your Mercury planet, your planet Mercury, which is your planet of communication, but then it's also like your message. There's like a lot of errors, spelling errors in here, but all good. You can also learn about your conscious sun, which is kind of like the essence of your brand. And these two, the conscious sun and your Mercury, really like interplay with each other, to kind of like create a picture of like who you are and what you stand for. And that's a lot. That's a lot of info. I hope it's been really helpful. I'm just coming back. Am I still sharing my screen? Or am I back on the
Back?
Okay, great. Okay.
So we had a couple of questions
Yes.
from collectors in the house. I think that maybe just giving like a tiny bit more guidance on how to create or, navigate network marketing as a reflector specifically?
For reflectors, the biggest thing I would say is really community, like what you're like, because you're open and your experience really depends on your external environment. This is my interpretation of what I've seen. I would share a lot about the community and what you're experiencing in the community and what you're seeing, like this particular product and this particular community is what role it's playing, like in the huge role of like humanity and the huge role of like where things are going. I would say that's a great positioning sort of like alignment for a reflector. And yeah, is that enough? That's the first obvious thing that comes to me.
Good. I think that's good. I know that you had some other things you wanted to bring in too. And actually, I just had a little inspiration come in out of here that I wonder if in the new year we could do like a separate from the regular 2 Zooms, but do like a little month-long pop-up that's HD focused and go through like each archetype per week or something, do like a 4-week class. I don't know, just be fun, right?
Sure. Yeah. There's so much. And I want to like also say, like, you can go down this rabbit hole of human design and it's kind of like candy and your brain is just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I just like always, the reason why I love talking about it in terms of business is because it brings it back to something where you can actually implement it and use it, because you can kind of like get stuck in this whole, I find you can get stuck in a whole world of like, it means this and it means that, and blah, 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 which is amazing because it makes you feel good. But also I think like really bringing it back to, and then how do I use this, is something that like is really going to serve you and your business, as opposed to just knowing and learning the things. Yeah, I'm down to do more training. 100%. Talk about it forever. I love it.
One of the things that I just wanted to speak to really quickly is this, Healy actually itself, and working with Healy really brought me so much insight into things that I'd heard in human design over the years, specifically this idea of the not self. And that, from what I understand in my body that Healy really does is it really supports us. It identifies, I guess, from this lens, like where our defined centers are. And it gives us like, it helps us to be in that original blueprint by disengaging and supporting us to dissolve and unwind all the places that I saw a couple of questions here too. Like, what if I'm this type, but I act like this type? What if I'm told that I'm this, but I really identify with that? Well, often that's because that there's some kind of not self, we've been trained, like he used the example of growing up as a, if you grow up as a projector in a household full of generators, or if you grow up as one type in a household, that our world is constructed in a lot of ways, from what I understand, to be more of like a generator type kind of reality. And so for those of us who aren't those types, there can be even more pressure of the not self, of like, I have to be this way, and or that codependency can kind of come in pretty heavily, and that Healy itself supports this dissolving of the incorporation of the not self, like that it helps us to reorient to our natural type, to really stand in that and to work from our space of genius and that internal knowing. So I have a projector son, and he's like my biggest teacher. my pointy aura boy. But he's growing up in a world full of generators, and so it's like, how do we really anchor in the truth of who we really are, these pieces of ourselves that are our genius, that have in so many ways been fragmented out of us by navigating a world that is not in so many other ways than just like if you're a projector or whatever, but that there's all these different ways that we're working, including, and I saw out of here you were going to talk about trauma as well. I'm not sure if we have time to do that, but that this is really a tool for this time. Healy is really here to help us reclaim this deep truth of who we are and how we are designed to be individually in this world.
Yeah, you can track you can actually trace the trauma, like where you're most likely prone to trauma and conditioning in your human design chart, which is something that I only actually learned like in the last 6 months or so. But it's basically where you have definition. So we have like certain gifts in our chart, and if they are placed in different parts of your aura where you have undefined centers, essentially there's a requirement for you to like co-create with someone to bring that genius and bring that gift to life. And so the shadow frequency of that is often where most of your trauma and your conditioning, you'll find your trauma and your conditioning in your chart. Like it's pretty fascinating, and it is like, it really is about the like where people are saying like, I feel this but maybe I'm mad and I'm not sure, blah blah blah. That's a lot of that is conditioning. And the experiment is like really just the main, like there's so much you can go into, but it's like, first of all, like really getting the main pieces, which is your type, and then your strategy and your authority. So your strategy, like, am I responding now, or am I trying to initiate something, or was I really invited here, or was I not invited here? Like, like really like just asking those really simple questions, and also really attuning to your authority, like knowing what your authority is, whether it's your sacral, whether it's your spleen, and knowing that it only speaks once, so that you can really like navigate in a way that really does like bring you into just more coherence. And my intuition training and Healy really kept bringing me back to human design. Like you could see it, like when I was doing intuition training, like, and people's bridges of like what to do next. Even when I didn't know deeply human design, it would like their next action point was to like follow their strategy, but I didn't realize that at the time. So enough human design. I feel like everyone's probably human design out. I really could keep going, but I know we have to do the promos and all the things. Are you going to do those, or am I going to do those?
Give it all to you, Arakia.
What am I doing? So we need to talk about what's
so let's just pause for a second, because I really want to highlight these comments that are rolling in, thanking you. This has been amazing. I think that everybody really has gotten, so many little insights, like that there can be just little pieces that can refine the way that you're doing something in such a small way, but can absolutely change everything. So I want to invite you all. We do have a couple other recordings from Arahia, and I'm actually going to put them all into a social media folder specifically, so that all the social media stuff can be together. But I just really want to thank you for bringing your Ajna skills here to really break it down. And I also want to say, that like Arahia said, there can be like this big, deep rabbit hole to go down. And there is a lot of complexity in your chart. It's not just about the things that have been spoken here. There's a lot of depth that you can go into. And so to not be so rigid about, like, oh, well, I can never make a post like this because I'm this, or, that to really just kind of stay curious. And I love this invitation to just kind of play with things and see how your audience responds, because we're really just in this big experiment, right? So you're going to know when you hit it, because those are going to be the posts that light up. You're going to all of a sudden have a viral reel. Like I had a reel that was 3.5 million views about a year ago. And it was just such a simple thing of being like, how did me and my husband like stay together for 14 years and still be juicy? We left the Matrix, and you can too. And it was like a total commentary on the Matrix, like just, but it was wild to see how that, like when you hit it, it because your audience comes around and is like, so but stay in the curiosity and just play with it. And that's why we have this 11 days. So I really want to invite you guys to join this play shop of really diving in. This is also, there can be a tendency over the holidays for energy to kind of pull back a little bit because everyone's in their family vibe, and and so this is also going to really support like a consistency through the end of the month and allow energy to continue to move while you're in your family, while you're doing your holiday stuff, that you're not just like I'm just going to do nothing. This is going to help everyone to kind of stay in the energy of what we're doing here over the next 11 days. So yeah, so play with us. It's gonna be really fun. Adihya?
Thank you. Yeah, so the my brain's frazzed. I'm in ajna mode. Totally. So the promos that we are having running until the end of this month are the 45% off all of the devices except for the gold. And if you're purchasing the Res Plus or above, there is the free gold as well, which, I mean, where are we? It's probably not going to land in time for Christmas, like a free Christmas present, but I know people have been using that that extra gold like to gift to their family, or someone else in their family, like partners and stuff like that. Like, it's been some really great stories with those free gold devices, like with pain and stuff, just like having that real simplicity in the 144,000 frequencies on those golds. The Soul Cycles is still at 45%. If you haven't got the Soul Cycles, they are amazing. Like, I was running one just then. I was running Aura Clear. They're like, they are amazing. I love them. I think I've run one every single day since I've had the Soul Cycles, and I've had them about 20 days. And the other promos, the mag, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is going to be the last month to win the mag, Healy, but who here has a mag? Like, honestly, I've got this one. I've got a second one coming, and I'm 100% going to win one this month because I love my mag. Like, it blows my mind. Today I used it on like a little 6-year-old, and she wanted to take it home with her. She loved it so much. Yeah, like, she literally was like hugging it like a teddy bear because she had a sore belly. But like, there's just so many different ways to use it, like restructuring your water, restructuring like the energy in your room. I don't know, like, it's really powerful. Yeah, sharing it in businesses, in business settings, it's like there's a whole new business within our business. I've actually been having chats with Sarah Joy about this, like how to create like packages for both of these that are like really powerful, like a really powerful way to start like implementing and sharing our business more. So keep an eye out for that. But for this month, selling any 3 devices, Resonance Plus or above, you will receive a free mag. Like, please go for it. Like, it will blow your mind. And if you already have one, go for another one. And that's the promos. Do we know when?
So a couple other really quick things. So yeah, the Mag Healy, they're definitely not going to be doing free Mag Healys forever. This will not be a forever thing. There will be a cutoff on the free Mag Healys. So this is also a really amazing way to intro someone. If you have someone who's brand new, who's getting started with you in the next few days, by the end of the month, orienting someone who comes in, orders their Healy today or this month, and then hits fast start, like even just sells 3 Resonance Plus or Pros, they're going to get their free device, and they're going to get, if they sell 3 Pros, they're going to get their free Resonance Plus, and they're going to get their free Mag Healy. And it's just like Christmas a couple days late, but I mean, woo. So yeah, and so really helping brand new people and anybody who's on your team to orient, like, what can I do to position myself to be able to get a free Mag Healy into my life? I mean, I have my whole part of my biggest vision last month, like what I was really writing my wishes about, was getting another free mag so I could give it to my mother, who's going through tons of challenges. My dad's in the hospital. My grandma is nearing the end of her time here. And, so I was like, I really just, even more than hitting president, I mean, crazy, right? But me trying to get into me being in the energy of like, I want that free Mag Healy, put me into that energy that then rippled that energy out into my entire team. So you impact your business in more ways than you can even imagine. So yeah, now I have a Mag Healy. I actually have 2 coming to my mom's house. My mom and my dad can both have their own. And you know, there's just, I mean, there's so much, like, we're in this kind of family oriented moment here. And for many, and for those of you who are not in a family oriented moment of the holidays, like, love to everybody, but there can be this time where it's more of an internal time of year. And so, you know, really taking this time and having conversations, this whole entire business is built on having conversations. That's it. That's it. It's the only thing. And this is why this is so important, the messaging and how we hold these conversations based on, you know, who we are and what our design is, but it's just having conversations. So if you are going to be in a setting over the next few days where you're around family or friends or anything, just practice having conversations. Practice having conversations online. We're going to do the 11 days, and practice having conversations in person. Get curious, ask questions, be the guide, whatever it is, you know, use some of what you've learned, but put it into practice. It is just like any other practice. If you want to learn a musical instrument, I've been going back to yoga recently. I'm like, oh, I'm back in my practice, right? Whatever it is, the devotion to the practice of actually improving your skills of talking to people, like, that's what we are doing here. We are learning how to relate in different ways, in deeper ways. And it's just, you know, it's a beautiful time to lean into that over the holidays. So thank you again, Arihia. Oh, one other quick announcement is that if you hit director for the first time by the end of the month, you get a free ticket to our Portugal retreat. All the information should be coming out very soon. They're just finalizing the booking the event, the venue. And so that is, I know there's a lot of people, actually, if you are here and you've made the decision to hit director by the end of this month, so that you get that free ticket, write director in the comments, because this is also one of those things that can be like, yep, McLean. Well, it's actually, so it's hitting it for the first time. If you hit director for the first time by the end of the month, then you get the free ticket. So I think that's it. We have gone to 90 minutes, a little bit plus. Amazing deep dive out of here. We're gonna have to talk behind the scenes about continuing this conversation for a series, and enjoy. No Zoom on Monday. Next Thursday, Jess Husser and I are going to be talking about a lot of really powerful, we're going to have a deep conversation with you guys. So be sure to be there, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Arihia. Also, it's midnight.
Thank you.
For Arihia right now in Australia. So thanks for showing up, babe. We love you.